Hey everybody, this is Chris Decker, your inaugural guest host for this first episode of the human side of product development. We're going to get to know your host, Andy Dio. Andy, welcome to the studio.
Glad to be here, Chris. Thanks.
So before we get started, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you and Saratech and then get into the show and kind of what listeners can come to expect.
Sure, absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Andy Dio. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Saratech. I've been with the company for a long time. I'm actually one of the early employees of the company. Saratech is an engineering company. The focus of the organization is to help customers develop better products through better product development experiences. And what that means is we basically provide software engineering services and solutions to help customers just make things better, faster, and cheaper.
Better, faster, and cheaper. I think there's an interesting founding story to the company's name even. Yes.
So Saratech is actually named after the founder's daughter. He is literally a rocket scientist. Really smart guy with PhD, has a history of working with many advanced companies like Ford, Boeing, Rockwell. So at the time he was commuting from California to Michigan, working at Ford. And his daughter, Sarah, at the time, she was very young. And she's like, "Dad, how come I never see you anymore?" So he decided then, you know what? This is not worth it. I need to be closer to home. I need to be closer to my family, spend more time with my daughter. So he quit his job at Ford, came back home, took a huge risk, and started Saratech and named the company after her.
Oh, wow.
So Saratech, it's an amazing story in terms of, bringing your work, leaving your work and doing something that is more, more pleasing to you in terms of being closer to family, being with people, right? Prioritizing what's important to you. So,
but what does that have to do with better, faster, and cheaper?
Well, so if you look at the world that we live in today, new technologies come out all the time. People always want things to be better, faster, and cheaper, right? If you look at the iPhone 14 just launched a few weeks ago. It's better, it's faster. Now you can argue whether or not it's cheaper or not. But that's what people come to expect. So there's a lot of pressure on companies and on people and engineers who work at these companies to always do better, do it faster. Product cycles are, getting shorter and shorter. If you look at 10, 20 years ago, it used to take, 6, 7, even 10 years to develop a new product, complicated product. But now people expect new things to come out in 18 months, sometime even less than that. So the pressure is huge if you're talking about engineers and people who work on developing these products. There's a lot of pressure, right? And products are not getting simpler, they're getting more complicated, right? It's getting simpler for the user and the user experience, but behind the scene, there's a lot of tech that has to happen for that to work, right? I mean, if you look at the phone, think about that. You can text someone literally from around the world, and your message will get from you to that person within milliseconds. Think about all of technologies and things that has to happen behind all that to make that work, right? So that's a huge pressure that a lot of companies and people in product development have to deal with, and that's why it's important to think about how we can help these individuals do things better and faster, so they don't have to spend hours away from their family. They don't have to spend overtime working 10, 20 hours, there's a human element to that a lot of time we don't think about, right? So that's why this is important, I think.
So what does it all come down to?
So if you look at how things are developing today, a lot of it comes down to innovation, right? If you look at, there's so many new companies, new inventors, new people are breaking into the industry. We're talking about, flying cars now, literally flying cars, things that we saw from the Jetsons that people have been dreaming about for years, right? Mm-hmm. So there are companies out there right now that are building automated flying cars. And, you've heard about this, but Amazon is talking about delivering your products via drones. So new technology and everything is happening in our industry is really exciting. And how do we continue to innovate and create products that are useful to people, that are used to further and enhance society? If you look at it, all of these products that we have today, what is the purpose of creating a new product? A lot of time it's to solve a particular problem, but it all comes down to, if you think about it, it comes down to time, right? We are creating things so that we can do things quicker. Why? Because we want more time. We want more time to do what? To enjoy life, to be with, to be more connected. But sometimes I think, depends on what angle you look at, it may create an opposite effect. But that's okay. I mean, that's sometimes the price you pay. So you pay with innovation, how people use the technology. But innovation is a key element to how we advance as a society, and how new and cool things come into the marketplace.
So tell me more about the show. What do you hope happens with the show? Are you excited to be a host? What are some of the things you're going to say? What are some of the things you're going to ask?
Yeah, so the show is really about how do we help people understand the human elements behind technologies, behind product development. Of course, we're going to talk about, how you do certain things. We're going to have technical people, experts, industry gurus in here talking about their approach to things, how they are looking at things. We're going to talk about the technical element for sure, but I'm also interested in looking at the human side of all of this, right? Why are people doing what they're doing? What interests them? Getting into some of the background, and maybe even how they came up with concepts and ideas about certain products or certain things. So the show is really about not just technology, but the thoughts and ideas and the people behind the technology. And that's a more interesting aspect to me to explore than just the how-tos to do something, or here's a better way to do something. Yes, those things are out there, but to me, the human interest is much more a topic that I want to explore more.
What kind of questions are you going to ask?
So,
what are you curious about?
Yeah, so obviously, I'm going to be asking questions about people's ideas, backgrounds, how they came about, what are their thoughts, what are some of the things that they see. For example, if we have industry experts or people who are really smart engineers, and people who I want to kind of pick their brain, right? So think about, this is the way that you chose to solve a problem. How did you come up with that? Why is that a benefit, and what drove you to that decision? So a lot of the questions and things that I'm going to be asking are about the thought process behind an improvement, an idea, the way to create or do something. So more than just, hey, this is how you do it, but this is the thought process behind it, and why that's important to me is that it's always good to understand where ideas and people come from, instead of just seeing the results, right? So a lot of time we see the results and we're like, oh, that's great, but we have no idea how that came about. So to me, that's a more interesting story. is how that came about.
How that came about, breaking that down. What types of people are you going to have on?
So we have a lot of smarter people than me. So I'm hoping to bring in engineers, industry expert, developers, people who are in the business of making product, from CEOs to chief engineers to product developer to software designer. So a lot of different people in that industry and a lot of different experts in the area.
Awesome. Well, I've seen you have such a strong YouTube presence, and you guys have put out so much valuable content that exists to help people, exists to educate people, exists to empower engineers, to foster innovation, and now I'm really excited that you're going to be exploring the human side behind all of this, and it's a natural progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm excited about, this podcast and this concept, because we have a lot of content out there on YouTube and on events and webinars that we do. We have tons of contents that talk about how to do something, right? This is how you make, A to A plus. This is how you design a part. This is how you analyze a part. But I think this podcast will allow us to complete the story, to give the full perspective from, this is how you do something, to the why behind why you do something or how you do something. So I think that's the interesting part of it.
That's a powerful message to end on. I'd like to encourage anybody that is listening to this first episode, if you want to follow along on the journey, is to subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, stick around, leave a review if anything impacts you, and share it with somebody that might get something from this show. Andy, any final thoughts?
I'm just really excited. I think this is an interesting approach that we haven't seen before from a technical and engineering standpoint. So I'm really excited to have a chance to talk to some of these individuals. We're going to have some really cool and exciting guests on. So hopefully, you'll be able to join us and listen in and hear about what's going on.